Okay, started taking some stuff apart, took the board out, had to take this out in order to get the tuning condenser out. One of the things that's kind of concerning, went ahead and took the dial off of it. This needs to be cleaned up a little bit. I washed it down a little bit with the water, but I dare not put much anything else on those numbers. I tested this area here where the little numbers, where the part numbers at, but this got a little rust on it, and this is pretty unique. It uses staples that goes through and bends over, so I think you could get by with just some wire if you had to replace those, but we'll try to clean that up a little better. Here's another concerning thing that I saw. Let's see, maybe I can do it this way and get a better shot of it here. If you'll look, that looks some sort of solder in there. I believe this was a Jackson drive, which was a reducer, which it didn't, the knobs don't indicate that, but need to check this number, see if it's the original. I believe it is, but this looks like some sort of reduction drive, but it's been soldered shut there so that it's just that. So I'm gonna clean this up a little bit better. It was held, it was had two grommets. This came from the bottom, this came from the top, and the condenser set on top of here. It's isolated from the chassis, but one of these was soldered to the ground. So the body of it is grounded, but this was mainly for vibrations. And these are real pliable. I think we can clean those up and reuse those. Those look great. I pulled the choke out of the radio, did a continuity check on it. It reached 24 meg, and it should be 2.3K, 2300 ohms. So I cut it open, check the connections here. A lot of times, sometimes, if you get lucky, it's broke right here. That wasn't the case. It's somewhere in the core itself. Very, very fine wire. To get 2300 ohms, there's a lot of windings here. So rewinding it is a possibility, but at this point, I'm going to pursue looking at a replacement. I've got a lead on a Hammond 155 Charlie that is close, that other people have used in this radio, so I'm going to do a little more research on that, and possibly we'll get that replacement and go from there. I'm going to take this apart and to clean it up. I may end up painting this, I don't know. I've taken an X-Acto knife and pried that up a little bit so I get some pliers under it, and then I'll spring those back and then take this off and try to clean this up a little bit. I bent those and lifted that right off, and this mark, the 120, this staple lines up with the set screw, so we'll know how it goes back. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get these out without damaging the dial. May just leave them in place, I don't know. Hopefully I can clean this up and see what I can do with it. I mixed up some Dawn dishwashing liquid and warm water and washed this off, and I think I've got all the film off of it, but you can see where it's got some battle scratches, but it's relatively clean. I tested this number first. If you're going to clean any of these, always test it on this number here, because if you, one time I took some alcohol and wiped across, bang, took every bit of it off, So always test what you're cleaning with this number here. And then let's see if we can spiffy this up a little bit. I got a little trick I may try. I'm gonna try on the back, and then we'll see how it looks. Okay, let's see if this shines up any. I've done the back side. I don't know. The back side doesn't help us any, does it? But I'm testing the back side, see if it does anything to the material. I don't know that it does anything. We'll try the front. I'm gonna try this Renaissance. I've used it on quite a few other things to spiffy things up, and so we're gonna try it right here on this particular one here. See if it comes off. Looks pretty good. Doesn't look like it's coming off, other than maybe a little grit of grime there. This is what the British Museum uses, but I promise you, it smells just like neutral shoe polish back in the day. So that's what it smells like. But it's supposed to protect and enhance, and I can see a difference in the numbers. I don't know if you can or not, but we'll see how it shines up. It's not going to be a glossy shine or anything like that. It's just going to kind of supposed to embellish the colors and protect and all that good stuff. And you're supposed to put on a good coat and let it dry. Okay, it's dried a little bit. It feels slickery anyway, nothing else. So I don't know if you can tell anything through the camera or not. Still have the battle scars, but I think it brightens it up just a little bit. What do you think? Cleaned this up. I used Mother's aluminum and mag cleaner for that. That also adds a coat to it. Of course, I used the Renaissance on that, and it should go back together about like, let's see, where's our, yeah, there it is. It should be right along there. Now if we can get those staples back in, I think that cleaned up fairly nice. All right, starting to put it back together. And a trick that my good friend Michael from That Tube Sound showed me was to use a piece of wood, and he got this from his late wife that did jewelry. is you use a piece of wood to bend these tabs with, not metal. Use wood. It seems to work, always has. And because I broke a bunch of metal tabs on like potentiometers and things like that by using metal pliers. But so far this seems to be working. Hadn't lost one yet. Of course, I'm on the last one. I usually have a good piece of oak to mash it with. There we go. Let's see. Can I pan back a little bit? It's cleaned up a little better. What do you think? Cleaned up those tubes and tested them. They all test good. There's a couple of them that I need to put a little glue on the base. There's only one. I'll go back through them again. But I use this, let's see if I can find it real quick. Loctite extreme conditions. It'll withstand heat, that you can glue the base of these back on. I've removed the main transformer and I labeled the wires, which we have the 2.5 volts that goes to the rectifier tubes. We have the plate or the high voltage that goes to that'll be pins 2 and 3 on the rectifier tube. We've got our primaries, which one will go to the on-off switch and the other to the neutral side of the power cord. Then we've got our two 6.3 volt windings that goes to the rest of the tubes. And then you have a high volt or a center tap that goes to the 6.3 volt, and it goes to ground. That's that there, and so mark that. That's the center tap 6.3, and then you have another, center tap for the high voltage, which goes over to here, and it actually ties into, maybe I can show it to you. It ties into this big resistor in the corner here for your negative bias, and also goes to the one of the filter caps up here. So I've got these labeled. We'll set this to a side. We will take it apart and clean it up and probably end up repainting it to make it just look good. Now what this does now is it makes this chassis extra light. I think while I'm here, I'm just going to go ahead and remove these two filter caps, and I think I will probably restuff these, and we'll see that. I had a viewer reach out to me and wanted me to show details of rebuilding one of these. So on this episode, we'll probably go ahead and take these off. Might clean the chassis a little bit on video and rebuild this, and then from there we'll end up the next part. We'll start doing the rewiring and the rest of the. I'm shaking that pencil again, sorry. So at least I'm conscious of it now. So, and in the next episode we'll start the rewiring and replacing the rest of the components. Okay, here's the 2 filter, or actually 3 filter capacitors. C50, it's dual part A and B. They're 8 microfarads per side, and that's this one. And as you can tell, it's isolated from chassis ground through. That's actually a block capacitor, number 51. It's on the bottom, and it's a 0.09 microfarad, so it's isolated from chassis ground there. The other one, which is C49, it's over here in this part of the circuit through the choke, and it's an 8 microfarad also, but it is tied to ground here with a metal band. So I've got it disconnected. All holding these two in is loosening this particular clamp, and it should come out. And we can cut that somewhere in here and restuff this and then put it back, and that band will hold it together. We'll glue it also. As you can see, this one is a wet and it has been leaking, so no doubt it's bad. This one has got the cardboard tube, maybe a little bit more difficult to come out. I don't want to tear it, and the cardboard is very brittle, so let me work off camera and getting this out, because I don't want to tear that cardboard up no more than I have to. I took some pliers and sprung this spring a little bit, maybe deformed it a little bit, but I think it'll be fine. We can put it right back. We'll have to take this off and clean this up. It's rusty. Of course, this is the cardboard tube, and it just fell apart. So might be able to take a layer off and it'll be okay, or we may have to glue it back. But the main thing is to keep it isolated from chassis ground. I took and put this in the sink and washed it with some Dawn and water with a toothbrush. And with this, I came back with some Brasso and cleaned it up a little bit. Also did this, I just did this with Dawn and water, and I believe that's going to be fine. You can see the Brasso does pretty good. It just takes a little bit of elbow grease. Okay, I've pulled out this Bakelite block capacitor. The number on it is 4989 Delta. Okay, I'm showing you that's number 51 on the schematic, which is 0.09 according to the schematic, and that is what isolates the center tap from chassis ground. All right, if you'll go online, you can find this. I try to keep a hard copy so I don't have to get back and forth, and if the computer's down, internet down, whatever, I've got it. It's kind of redundant, but let's look up that number. And this is the type it is. The working volts, 600 volts. It's 0.09 microfarad, 4989. So we'll go down to 4989 Delta, 0.09, lugs used 1 and 5. Of course, it shows it to be one of these 6 or 7, 8 terminal. So if we look and see 1 and 5, so it's the ones on each end, which is one side is ground, that's that one, and then the other end. Well, if you look, and you can see the leads that's on this, it's pretty simple. The ground side will go to this loop because this goes to chassis ground, and this one, it goes to the other end of the capacitor. Now, I don't have a 0.09, so what am I going to use? I'm going to use a 0.1 at 630 volts. So that's what we're going to do, and let's I'll show you what I do here. Let me swing things around and get a different angle. There are several ways to take this out. What I like to do, and I've done it several different ways, is I'll take a brush and some alcohol and clean up these terminals because they've got to be cleaned up anyway. And that way I can desolder the terminals. It makes it easier to do that. Now this is not any special jig or anything like that. It's just a block of wood that I use on the bench sometimes. And sometimes I'll clip these wires going to these. But what the main objective, whether you desolder this, clip the wires, or what, is to melt the tar in that side, or loosen it up for sure, and then either dig out the tar, which I do with a dental pick sometimes. Sometimes I'll take, if I can find something small enough, I'll put it in there and push it out. But it won't come out if you've got leads on those capacitors. And sometimes it's just easier to cut it with the clippers, like right there, and get that loose. Okay, now if I have something that's small enough to go down in that hole, what did I do? What did I do? Oh, see if this will go in there. It is. That will go in there. It's pretty tight on both sides, but I will take a hairdryer. Now, I don't have a heat gun. I have procrastinated about buying one. Let me do this off camera. What I'm going to do, and the caution I give you, is do not apply pressure to this wall on either side or even the ends, because this is very, very brittle, and if you're prying, it'll pop this out. And don't ask me how I know that. But what we'll do is we'll heat it and try to push it out. And I'll do the heating off camera, and then if we can't, then we will dig it out. All right, got it heated, and let's see if we can make it move. Whoops, look at that. And so now that comes out. And so there's the capacitor. It's already cooled off. But I'll clean this out. It's got a little residual tar in there. I'll clean up these terminals. And there's what the capacitors look like. It used to, one side of them have a number on them. Or used to. But there's the capacitor. Now, I have filled these back up when I got done. And the last few I haven't, because they're mounted this way, and I don't know that it does anything. There shouldn't be any heat. Might cause vibration or lack, or keep the vibration down. I don't know. But let me clean all this stuff up, and then we'll put the other one in. I typically don't show all my work, but this time I'm doing it on this. I know other people have done this, and some of you guys may have seen this 100 times at other places, but I've cleaned that out. I've got a 0.1 microfarad at 630 volts. It doesn't have to, this one doesn't have to be a safety cap. Now this one here is on the AC coming in right here. Use a brush for a pointer. I grabbed the wrong thing. But it coming off the AC line to ground. This is what's in it. Is not a safety cap. However, if I've got a safety cap, and typically people put safety caps back in those, and that's a good idea. If you don't know what a safety cap does, is when it fails, it will fail open. It won't fail shorted. Whereas these will fail shorted and will run voltage to ground and gets excitement. Get a little excitement there. So anyway, I've already marked what is typically the ground side. If you haven't seen it, I may have a video out there. I know Don with Philco Radios and several other people, Mr. Carlson's lab does it. So these newer modern capacitors, I've found that there's not a whole lot of difference in them. But there is that you can definitely tell there's one side that has a full side, which has more on the outside, which lead is on the outside. So I've marked it, and of course we're going to want it to go to this because the screw goes through this and into chassis ground. So this will be the ground. So we're going to want this one to go into there. Like that, and we just pull it down like that. Now what I do is I hold it in place with my little finger, and I bring it around, and I wrap it one time like that. Then I'll take this other one, and I'll bring it in there, and I'll wrap it around that. And let's get you a real close up. You can see I've wrapped it, and I will solder this and then clip that wire. So let's go ahead and do that. Apply my heat. I've cleaned my tip. Apply the heat to both places I want to solder, and then flow the solder into it. You want the solder to flow. And you can see how that flowed in there. We'll turn this around. We'll do the same thing. We'll put it right in there. Get it good and hot. Sometimes you do stick it to the tip of your iron just to get it started, but most of the time you can, as you can see, you want it to flow and get a good bond on all the metals. You want both pieces of metal heated up so the solder adheres to both of them. So now come over here. Clip that one. Clip that one. Clean our connections. Get all the rosin off of it. And so there that is rebuilt and can go back in there. Always turn that up to where the next slob comes in there can look at it and tell what it is. So there it is. So I think we're going to end it at this point in time. And on the next one, we'll come back and we will have rebuilt all these other capacitors and start rewiring and have the rest of the chassis cleaned up. So I appreciate all my followers, my subscribers, and everybody that has made comments. I appreciate you, because without y'all giving input and watching it, then there's no need for me to do this. I hope that you've learned something. I learn something every time I do one of these. So just, if you would, subscribe, like this video so other people can see it. And but like I say, I appreciate you guys. I really do. Give me your comments, good and bad. I don't, I've always said I like the comments, and I try my best to answer every single one. Now, sometimes I don't, I miss somehow or the other. Sometimes I don't get notifications, but I try to answer almost immediately as soon as I see them. But as I have always said, you can criticize me, and that's okay, but you can be nice about it too. We don't have to be ugly. This is a great group that follow these types of videos, and it's a pretty good community. I really do enjoy it. Got a lot of friends, made a lot of friends in this, and I've got a lot of help from my friends. So, from Larry from the hills of Tennessee, thanks for watching.